overrun by flies and mosquitoes, and everyone on board was dead, even the captain. Now with faded, bulging eyes and dry black vomit trailing down their garments, they pushed those fly-ridden, jaundice-swollen, decomposing corpses aside and dragged supply crates into town. Now after opening supply crates, they were all attacked by dozens of vicious biting mosquitoes. Hundreds of people would succumb to this. The Huguenot Cemetery on your right, ladies and gentlemen, is a mass cemetery of stacked bodies. Now you may be able to count each and every headstone, but don't let that fool you. There are about 25 bodies per headstone, ladies and gentlemen. Now as we roll by, please take a good look, because many people believe that those fever victims return to walk these very streets. One such apparition goes by the name of Elizabeth, and she resides in between the city gates, which we are passing, ladies and gentlemen. Now she is seen by many waving. Is she waving hello? Or is she warning them off not to come into this town because of the dreaded yellow fever? Now to many people, they think she's a real person, until they look closer. She either fades away into a misty shadow, or she disappears completely. So if you ever stand between those city gates and you feel a heaviness in the air, followed by a cold breeze, that's Elizabeth. And please be sure to say hello. Now the Huguenot Cemetery is not the only active cemetery in St. Augustine. How about we be doing some people, okay? Nice and loud. Unbelievers! Oh, you guys got a point? No. We got to point at them. Make them know we're yelling at them. Okay. Now this cemetery on your right was built on the ancient native burial grounds. There's a little boy who's seen playing at the base of this big oak tree, which is coming up on your right, ladies and gentlemen, and also in the branches above. No, we didn't know his name. It wasn't until we found this little headstone at the end of the branches with the name James on it. This states that he was here and died in this cemetery at the age of 5. Tragic. But of course, he's not alone. About 100 years ago, 2 little boys thought it'd be very fun to go camping in that cemetery. While they pitched their tent, started to tell some scary stories. And as they were falling asleep, they heard a bump in the night. They peered outside their tent to see a woman hovering about 6 inches off the ground. She was wearing a long white dress. Her face was absent, and she had long gray hair cascading down her back. So of course, those little boys ran as fast as their low legs would carry them out of that cemetery. And they started to tell everybody what they had seen. But it wasn't until an old man stepped out the back and said, "I know who you saw that night. There was a woman in this neighborhood who died a week before her wedding. Now her family requested she be buried in her wedding gown as a tribute to her impending marriage." The little boys grew hushed, because it had all made sense to them. The long white dress, napping up to see her face, and even the long gray hair cascading down her back, which could have been her soiled wedding train. Well, those little boys stuck to that story for as long as they lived, and they vowed never to set foot in that cemetery again. Now, how many people have heard of Henry Morrison Flagler?
Yes.
Pretty sure everyone has. He's a pretty big deal around here. Well, he was a multi-millionaire who came here one holiday from New York City. Loved St. Augustine, so he started to redo the Railroad Transportation Center, which led to his first hotel, Hotel Ponce de Leon on your right, in 1888. Now this was supposed to be the grandest hotel in all the country. The Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and 5 United States presidents stayed at that hotel. Power and wealth brings great triumph, don't you think? But it also can bring great tragedy. Betrayal, infidelity, and insanity were all guests of that very hotel as well. Well, that hotel is now known as Flagler College, where the girls eat, sleep, and walk the very halls, as Richard Famous did over a century ago. Now, many girls account of hearing footsteps running past their dorm doors. But when they look outside waiting to see a fellow student, instead they see a little boy about the age of 10, wearing knee-high pants from a bygone era. Well, he smiles at them mysteriously and vanishes through the closest wall. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty glad I do not live on campus. Now, when we pass this light, I would like for you all to take a glance across the plaza, which will be to your left, and you'll see the cathedral. This is the setting of our next story. Let's be doing this big crowd of people. Point at them and yell, okay? Unbelievers! I saw that. You in the green shirt. I saw that. No pointing. I saw that. Now, the next tragedy that struck St. Augustine is when our first bishop, Augustine Barreau, had passed away. Now, he was loved for his good works, but not only in St. Augustine, but all throughout Florida. So when he passed away, we decided to push back that funeral for about 2 weeks. This way, all the mourners all around Florida could come see him. But the only problem was this, is that that man died in June. And how is it here in June?
Oh, it's hell.
Yes.
Yes.
For lack of better words, yes. Well, that heat started to decompose his body in fast. We had no modern embalming techniques, of course, so we had to figure out a way to keep him fresh. So we decided to lay him over a sheet of ice, throw a blanket of Spanish moss on top of him, and it worked. Up until the ice melted. We're left with a soggy bishop and a whole lot of holy water. Well, next we decided to put him in a metal casket. But this casket was bolted shut. They put a glass viewing pan on top of his face. This way the Moors could see him one last time. But they didn't have to smell him. Perfect. So the day of his funeral, the church was packed to the rafters with people. And the people that were sitting closest to the casket started to hear a hissing and a popping sound. Now I would like for you to use your imaginations. Imagine a casket in between these two rows. We have one side of the church and another side of the church, and this sound is getting louder and louder. Now I would like for you to help me recreate these odd sounds. I would like this side of the church to hiss for me like and this side of the church to pop for me like pop, pop, pop. And the hissing got louder, and the popping got louder, and louder until bang! The casket exploded. All over the walls and all over the floor was the bishop. And all over the first few rows of screaming mourners. Hey, you two. Let's hear your best screams, okay? Scream as loud as you can. Sorry, Chris. Come on! That's what they sounded like. Now what do we do with our mouths when we scream?
Open them.
Down into everyone's mouth came raining little bits and pieces of the bishop. While the church was frightened and grossed out. They got some highly paid individuals to come back in and scrape up what they could of the bishop. Now these pieces were put into another metal casket. But this casket was welded shut. They poured concrete over the glass so that he could not escape this time. And they buried him in the Talamado Cemetery, a few feet away from little James. Now I understand if we have some skeptics among our midst, I can see the faces. But it is my job to try to convince you. Now when a person dies, their body lets off various gases, right? Well, the gas is built up inside the casket, and since it was welded shut, had nowhere to go but up. And the glass on top was simply not strong enough to withhold it. So, pop goes the bishop. Well, about 100 years later, in 1970, they decided to re-exhume his body and see if he indeed had such a memorable funeral as been told. Well, when they got permission, they opened that casket, and guess what they found? Little bits and pieces of that bishop. Still pink, still moist, and still fleshy, as the day they buried him. There was no further decomposition in about 100 years. Well, I guess so frightened, they closed the casket and buried him back in the same spot in the Talamado Cemetery. Until today, Bishop Barreau, rest in pieces. I know, the jokes aren't that good. I don't write them, I just get paid to say them. So, don't blame me. Now, anybody have any favorite pirates?
Blackbeard.
I know you guys like pirates, right?
Sure.
Blackbeard, anyone else? Chris says his favorite pirate is Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
So now we know why he's in jail.
Yes. He's a rum runner.
Captain Hook, I love him. I'm a Peter Pan fan. I am.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Love him too. A Johnny Depp fan. Well, Anastasia Island is a perfect place to tell such a story about Andrew Ransom. He was an English pirate who plagued up and down Florida's coast. He was very clever. He was so clever that he got captured in Volcano Beach. Now his fellow pirates were forced to help build the Castillo de San Marcos fort in town. But Andrew Ransom had a much worse fate coming to him. Garroting. Now does everybody know what garroting is?
Yes.
How about you guys in the back?
No.
Well, a very simple way for me to explain garroting is of a person sitting in a chair. Now stuck behind them, you have a pole in the ground. In that pole, about neck high, is a hole. You stick one end of the rope through the hole, wrap it around the person's neck, and back through the same hole. You tie it off with a stick, used to make that rope tighter and tighter. Now Andrew Ransom had this coming to him. The day of his execution, after the charges were read coolly to the crowd, they wrapped that rope around his neck and began to twist. On the third twist, he was having trouble breathing. On the fourth twist, the rope was beginning to bite into his neck. On the fifth twist, his face was turning purple, and blood was starting to trickle down. And on the sixth twist, the rope broke into two. While Andrew Ransom fell to the floor, gasping for air, and the priest fell to his body, yelling, "It's a miracle! This man has been saved!" and dragging him off to the closest church. While Andrew Ransom was saved, and the governor was not happy about this. He wanted nothing more to do than finish off the execution as planned. But the church had the last say in the law, and this protected him. Now, a few years later, he decided that he was going to help poor old St. Augustine out in return for his freedom, of course. Well, he helped finish the building, bless you, the Castillo de San Marcos fort in town, and he even interrogated some English prisoners. What an odd irony that an English pirate would help the very people that he plagued upon for so long. Now, to this day, Andrew Ransom's grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren live in St. Augustine about 300 years later. And that day, in the plaza, for everyone to see, was a pirate saved by a miracle or by an odd twist of fate? Thank you. I keep telling him I need a rum.
Yeah, you need this.
Now we are arriving at the Lighthouse Park grounds, so we'll be getting off and walking around for about 15 minutes or so. Now I do want everybody, as you see, there are low-hanging branches and above ground roots. Want to go to the lighthouse, but Grizz, like Grizz says, we do not have time to climb the steps. So we are here in the Lighthouse Park grounds, where we believe most of the activity happens. Now we believe it is what happened long ago, when our first lighthouse fell into the ocean due to erosion. They hired a man by the name of Hezekiah Petit to come here and construct our second lighthouse. He came with his 3 daughters, ages 15, 12, and 7. Well, they loved their new homes. They loved making new friends. They came to this very park every single day to play various games. One of their games included a rail cart. Now this rail car was used to transport supplies from the water all the way to the new lighthouse. Now they would empty this cart, push it all the way to the top of the hill, take a running leap into it, and ride it all the way down to the ocean's edge, like a homemade roller coaster. They did this daily. But it wasn't until one day they came outside their house and saw the cart was already empty and at the top of the hill. Well, less work for them. So of course they ran to it, jumped in it, and started their mad dash to the ocean's edge again. But this time, they realized that they were not slowing down. For some strange reason, the brakes were not set that very morning. Now, the construction workers that were around were used to hearing their screams of joy. But what they were not used to hearing were their screams of joy turned to screams of terror. They turned around just in time to see those 3 little girls get flipped over the edge and pinned to the ocean floor. They jumped in the water and tried to save those 3 little girls, but they failed. All 3 of those girls drowned that very day. Now, the very next day, they had to come and finish construction of our second lighthouse. It was very important. But they started to hear little kids playing around at the base of the lighthouse. Well, they would climb all the way to the bottom to realize that there were no kids there. They told Hezekiah Petit what they had been encountering, and he could do nothing but shake his head and walk away. He knew that was the spirits of his 3 young daughters playing in the park that they loved so very much. Now, to this day, ladies and gentlemen, we do hear and see those 3 little girls here. Now, if it's not laughter on our tour groups, maybe the swings are swinging back and forth by themselves. Now I know before you guys look at me all weird, it is very hard to believe something without encountering yourself. But I personally have experienced this on one of my tours when I first started. I'm pretty new, so let's not talk it up. But my tour itself took a picture of the swing moving, and sitting on top of the swing was a little girl smiling at us. A clear apparition. But when you go take your pictures, I would like for you to keep a very open mind, because they're not the only things here. You may catch orbs, you may catch different apparitions. There's a little boy named Billy here. Now, we don't know how he died or why he's here, but we know that he's mostly seen by children and he's wandering aimlessly around. So at this time, I will allow you to go take pictures, but please do not. Well, did anybody catch anything abnormal?
No. We got orbs in one picture of, well, 4 or 5.
Got orbs? Oh, yeah. I like orbs during the day because they become like a yellowish color. Like at night, they're just a pale white and you think it's dust. Now, if anybody has any abnormal pictures and would like to share them, we do have Facebook, of course. St. Augustine Ghosts and Gravestones. You can comment on there. You can do whatever you like and we will get back to you. Now, if you'd like to see any abnormal pictures, we do have a webpage, St. Augustine Ghosts and Gravestones. There's abnormal pictures from the jail, from the Lighthouse Park grounds, both day and night. Apparitions, orbs, a lot. It is very cool, so I suggest check it out. Now, there is a trolley coming, okay? For those of you that still have your windows open, as loud as you can. This is a really big competition, okay?
Be doomed.
Unbelievers!
Be
That was so good. That was good. That was James's trolley too. James. Oh, I beat him. There's a guy who does this be-dooming, and he is the best one out of all our ghost hosts. And that was his trolley. I didn't hear anything. I think we won. I'm never gonna let him live that down.
He was doomed.
Now, the lighthouse and the park are not the only active places on Anastasia Island. Just around the corner is a little cottage. This cottage was built by Henry Flagler's attorney. Now, when he was done building it, he did not live in it. The occupant was that of a young woman. No one knew the relationship between him and this beautiful young woman, but of course, the whole town loved to gossip about it. They started to pay attention to how many times he came to see her, how long he stayed, and what they did. Well, she loved to take daily walks around Anastasia Island, saying hi to all her neighbors. One day, when she was on her return walk, she saw the attorney was on her lawn waiting for her, face down, in a pool of his own blood. He was viciously and several times shot in his back. So of course she sent for the authorities. They came, they investigated, they even questioned her. But her alibi checked out, and that was the end of their investigation. It wasn't until the gossiping townsfolk decided to have their own little investigation. They found out that a woman alone checked into Hotel Ponce de Leon for one night, which was strange. This was the type of hotel that if you wanted to stay there, you had to pay for an entire season, which was 3 months. And you had to pay was equivalent in today's money to $250,000 for one night. For one night. The very next day, she took a ferry to Anastasia Island, stayed for about an hour before returning back to her hotel room, packing her belongings and buying a one-way train ticket back to New York City, the same place the attorney was from. Now, was there a love triangle between the three of them?
Likely.
How many cottages did he have up and down Henry Flagler's railroad site for pretty little young women?
No, he was a pimp.
A pimp. We don't know. We may never know. What we do know is that if you pass that cottage till today, you just may see that attorney standing there and waiting. Maybe he's waiting for you to come along and solve his unsolved murder mystery. Now, the next story I have to tell you has to do with some parties. You guys look like a bunch of party folks, right?
Yeah.
A good party? Yeah. I know you girls, right? Parties. You're at that age, I know. Well, this story is about the Spencers. The Spencers, Todd, Sarah, and Sally. They moved to Volcano Beach and started to throw weekly parties. They had the best food, drinks, music, and dancing well into the night. So of course, everyone wanted to be invited. But they only invited the elite. The only problem the elite saw with the Spencers is that they didn't even know where they were from. Whenever they would ask Todd, he would just gesture up and say, up north. Sarah would just giggle and offer them another hors d'oeuvre. And Sally would just ignore the question completely and walk away. Now it wasn't until Todd failed to show up at his own party. Everyone started to guess, wonder, where's Todd? Where's Todd? And Sarah says, well, you just missed him. He went on a business trip up north. He'll be back soon. Please don't worry and enjoy the party. Now a few weeks go by, and Sarah fails to show up at the party now. And Todd has still not returned. Again, everyone inquires, where's Sarah? Where's Sarah? And Sally says, you just missed her. She had to go on a family thing up north. She'll be back soon. Please don't worry and enjoy the party. The next week, no one received any invitation to the parties, but they were still able to hear the Spencers' parties. They started to wonder, well, who were they entertaining? Because none of the elite were there. So they did what any nosy, snooping, and jealous neighbor would do. They called the cops. The cops came. They knocked on the door, and all the lights went off as one. A little strange, but they didn't think anything of it. Next, they decided to call in. No one answered. But at this time, all the townsfolk were gathered on the lawn, egging them to go in. So, of course, they opened the door. And more than a stench of a day-old party passed everyone's nose. But still, they went in. They searched downstairs, and nothing. But they went upstairs. To their surprise, they found 3 rotting, decaying corpses, neatly tucked in their individual little beds. So, of course, they called the coroner. The coroner came and said, yes, these bodies are that of a male and 2 female. Maybe it's Todd, Sarah, and Sally. But even stranger, it has been here and been dead for about a year. About the same time they moved in and started throwing these weekly parties. Well, of course, the word got out. Everyone started to wonder, well, we saw Todd, Sarah, and Sally at these parties, but you're telling me they're dead. Were they ghosts? Even when the bodies were dragged out of that house, they were still able to hear those parties. Even when the house was torn down, a few years later, they were still able to hear those parties. Some of you that happen to catch yourself on Volcano Beach and you happen to hear a party, but for the life of you cannot find it, just raise a glass and toast to the good times those Spencers are still having.
Probably learns of lady time.
Yeah. Oh, looks like we're stuck at the bridge. Anyone have any birthdays?
Right here.
We have a birthday? Is today? When?
It was 2 days
2 days
ago.
ago? How old are you? 10? It's a good age. I guess. I don't have kids. I'm just guessing. Well, let's sing happy birthday. What's your name?
You are a kid.
Chloe? Oh, I like that. Okay, ready, guys?
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chloe. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Okay, now any anniversaries? I have an anniversary song too. Do we have any buttons? We don't have any buttons, Grizz. Oh, wait. Wait, that's just married. I'm pretty sure your mom does not want me giving you that. That's an anniversary.
Why don't you take a picture of me looking down?
Oh, guys, I don't think we have any buttons. Okay. We'll give you a... Not that one. Okay. We'll give you an anniversary, because technically it's your anniversary of birth. So...
Picture goes a bit.
Be careful, it's open in the back. Don't poke yourself. Excuse me?
Spanking.
A spanking? You heard that?
That's her dad. It's okay.
You heard that, right?
Everybody on the trolley gets the spanking.
Wait, that can be taken a lot more different ways. I'm just saying.
You would say that.
Come on, folks. Does our mind go to the gutter that quick?
Maybe.
I'm so surprised. Great job.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. Okay.
They're drawing.
Now, her name is Catalina de Perez. And she resides in 46 Avenida Menendez Street on the Bayfront. Now, that restaurant, well, that house is now known as a restaurant called Harry's. If anyone hasn't been there, phenomenal food. Okay, I'll just sit down. You guys didn't see that. Now, this place is now known as Harry's Restaurant. She lived inside this building until she was about 10 years old. Then the English took over and forced her and her family to move to Cuba.
Oh.
She vowed one day she would return. And 21 years later, she did. But now, she was petitioning the governor to give her back the home that she loved so very much. It took him 5 long years before she got that house back. But when she did, she was so happy, she started to relive her best memories. But fate was cruel. And 6 short years later, she had passed away. Harry's Restaurant will be coming up. This is a dark red wine-colored building. Now 6 short years later, she had passed away. Still vowing to never leave that house. Now, do you guys think a woman with such determination would leave that house?
No.
That is why, to this day, we believe she is there. If it's not a glimpse of her in an empty room, or maybe a mirror, or maybe she's walking by you in the hallways. Now, on the 2nd floor of that building is a woman's lavatory. Now, that lavatory was, in fact, her bedroom. Now, I'm pretty sure she does not like what people are doing inside her bedroom. She was raised a very well-mannered girl. So that is where she is seen most often. In the mirrors, standing behind people. There was a woman in that bathroom taking a picture of herself in the mirror, and standing behind her was a woman dressed in period clothing. What's funny? Wait.
Why would you take a picture of that?
Girls do a lot. I'm pretty sure everybody has. Like Facebook.
Goddamn good.
Well, she was taking a picture of herself in this mirror. And standing behind her was a woman in period clothes. Now she turned around to face this woman and there was nobody there. While fires mysteriously ignite themselves, candles relight themselves, and napkins tend to catch on fire. So I'll be careful where you put them. Now, like I said, she was raised a very well-mannered girl. So, if you went to her house and you were rude or cursing, had a little bit too much to drink, and you decided that you were gonna curse. Are you a cursor?
We
just came from there. And she was cursing.
I mean, a crap load of cursing was going on over there.
Well, she doesn't like people that curse.
Apparently.
Now they would say if you were in there and you were cursing, you would feel a warm sensation on her shoulder. Now the reason that we believe this story is true, we had a group of girls that came on our trolley. Now we started telling the story. Now they were laughing. Now we asked them what was funny. They said we were just at Harry's restaurant cursing, and one of the girls felt a warm sensation on her shoulder. Looked down and saw red. She thought she was bleeding until she looked closer. She realized that it was red wine pouring down her shoulder when nobody was there to pour it. Now the stain was so bad that Harry's restaurant had to pay for her dry cleaning. That's why we believe that story. Now, of course, she's not alone in the house. She was joined by a man who lived in that house around the late 1800s. We know this due to his clothes. Now, he loves to make a grand entrance, walk down the grand staircase into the main dining room, and disappear in front of all their guests. Now, they're also seen a lot in the windows. People would pass by this building and see shadowy figures standing in the windows. They would take pictures and see shadowy figures in their pictures. Unexplainable. So like I said, if you have not been there, eaten there, I would suggest going. But please do not taunt her.
She likes to show up in group pictures too.
Yes. She'll show up in group pictures. Now please, go visit this place. Because Harry's restaurant is making a believer out of a whole bunch of ghost skeptics. Now I have a real good treat for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going into the jail. Now this is one of the most haunted places in America. It is made on the National Registry of Haunted Places. Now I have a very weird EVP to play for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's from the Port Orange Paranormal Society. Please listen and listen good, because it is saying there are only 8.
Wow.
There's only 8 what?
Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
No. Yeah, I did.
There were only 8 documented death warrants inside this very building. Only 8. But we suspect a lot more. If you can imagine the smell of overflowing toilet buckets, and every man taking a bath in one tub of water, one after another, and the women, well, they had to take a bath a day after the men, in that same tub of muddy water, once a month. That's why we suspect a lot more. You had rats and mice and lice and bedbugs. They all tormented these inmates. Then they had to do some of the dirtiest of jobs, like turpentine cans, and then maybe a shank in their back was going to be their ultimate reward.
Sounds like the bunker.
So this time we'll be going inside.
Too secure.
Move on in there.
Some people say they can still feel the lice in their hair to this day.
Get you? Who'd they get? Good job. Sorry, you're on that.
Yeah, watch out for them.
Maybe I don't want to hold your arm.
Oh, you're just ready. You're ready for any picture that pops out.
Actually, it's recording.
It should be on first.
You know why I got rid of Tinkerbell? Because every time them history folks bring in here, all they want to talk about is conditions. What's this is useful? How thick the dough was. What they don't tell you about? 8 men that lived and died here. Tonight, I'm gonna do that because of that man right there on the wall. See that boy on the floor? That's Tim Jackson himself, right before this one. Big fella next to him, that's Sheriff Perry. Now Sheriff Perry, most people ain't too happy this man got. So fresh flowers, a new suit, and this here fancy picture. After what he done to his wife. Hey fellas, what y'all like to do in the morning? Shave, look a little pretty. Ladies, what y'all like to do? Nag! And sometimes shaving and nagging don't get along too well. See him? He took his straight razor out. He started shaving. And his wife, when she took her mouth out and started nagging, next thing you know, this boy's got a fistful of her hair. And he's dragging that straight razor right across the throat. Because he did it about 30 more times. And do you know how hard it is to cut someone's head off with just 4 inches of steel? It's hard. It makes a lot of noise. It makes so much noise that your neighbors, they're going to hear it. They're going to run across that door, they're going to kick down your front door, and they're going to see you picking up your wife's body, leaving her head on the ground. Now, Sheriff Perry, big old boy, he don't like moving. Now, how do you think he felt having to go all the way to Tallahassee to get this wife from him? And how do you think he felt when he finally got this wife from her up on the gallows? This man started preaching to the crowd. Started going on about, I see you folks on God's golden shores. 17th chapter of St. Luke. The kingdom of God is within all man. Not one man, no group of men. But within you the people. Now how do you think them God-fearing Christians in the crowd felt about being preached to by a man who just butchered his wife? I see them gals up there, Porky? You got Bill Jones. Every board and nail. Don't worry, we got the pieces. We just make you drag it all the way around back. And you gotta put it together outside by that tree. Board by board, bit by bit, nail by nail. Then we toss you in this cell right here. And you gotta gape out that window for 30 days, looking at your gallows. Think about what you've done. Day of your execution, they bind your hands up real tight. See, they're afraid you're gonna do something wild, something crazy. And they got enough men standing around with guns, making sure you drop in one way or another. But you see all this? His suit, them flowers in this picture, they ain't for sale. No one even knew him. Because these men came to town. Yankee brain doctors come all the way down south, pre-foaming experiments on hangings, trying to determine how long it takes a man to lose his conscious mind after he dropped. And they asked him, can you help out? And Sim said, sure I can help out. What do you need me to do? Oh, yes, Sim said. See, all we need you to do, wiggle your fingers for us. Let us know you're still there after we drop you. Because you ain't gonna do much talking with that rope around your neck. And Sim said, sure, I can do that. But on his lucky day, they marched him up his 13 steps. They get him dead center. They strung him up nice and high. They dropped him. And he wiggled for about 11 minutes. Took him all of 30 before he finally stopped twitching altogether. Is that funny, Mr. Chuckles?
This guy's got names.
I'm glad someone's here enjoying the fact that some man dangled end of a rope with a broken neck and strangled to death.
It's 30 minutes.
I'm glad you enjoying that.
Killed his wife.
Now, next man I'm going to tell you about, he didn't have no grandiose words to say. Sim Jackson only had one thing to say, and that was, give my boots to my wife, because she can't afford to bury my body. State was justified in killing this man as he beat another man to death with a shovel over a game of cards. But his best friend in the crowd never had the heart to tell him what his wife really thought about him. And his boots, they never got there. In fact, I got them boots. Did you just look at my boots? You think I'm wearing a 10 man's boots? They don't fit. I tried.
That's pretty
But since you're so interested in boots, how about we go upstairs? I'm going to show you some boots, folks. Come on now.
Why is everybody so scared?
You don't question a big guy with an attitude.
Yeah, for real.
Keep your head down, walk away, no eye contact.
You know, he works here full time.
Don't look at his boots.
Oh, good lord, no.
Uh-oh, you guys are under the light.
When I had to work in one, it sucked.
First person dies under the light.
Come behind us and scare the crap out of us.
You're just like, come on.
She can't afford to be scared.
Me?
Dude, that'd be an awesome job. Just to sit in cells and scare people. That is the coolest job.
Who's scared? Who's scared?
Dude, this is like the first Thanksgiving right here.
Genuine dead man's boots. Hey, Nosy, where you at?
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
They don't fit, you see? Now, he didn't die alone. He died next to two other men, Eugene Banks and Thomas Watt. Jacksonville boys, they attacked the Jacksonville store. They beat him, beat his wife, beat his two little girls. All four of them didn't live to see the light of day. Now, I know what y'all think. You beat the brains out of two little girls? You're not the worst in here. You're gonna be wrong. The worst in here, that goes to George Hawkins. Ooh. See some man? You're like anger, love, money. Hawkins. He killed a score.
Oh, coming around.
Oh, where they?
Yeah, there's
Hawkins is in here somewhere.
Not one day. He saw his perfect prey, a Syrian peddler. A man by the name of Charles Joseph. Now, peddler, he only comes to town about once a year. And ain't gonna be missed when he leaves. So Hawkins, he's on the phone. He grabs this man by the hair. He pulls his chin up. He takes his knife out. He sticks it under his chin. Flips it all the way down into his navel. He ain't done yet. See, he grabbed this man by the collars, and he pulls him off the wagon into the back. Hawkins, he was the butcher around here. And he had some of the kinkers and some insides. So what he do? The butcher. He reached inside this man. He grabbed his inside. He grabbed his heart, his liver, his kidneys, his spleens, his intestines. He grabbed them all. He pulled them all out. Then he realized he couldn't skin this man properly in the back of the walking wagon. So what he did? Well, he grabbed this man by the collars again. He pulls him off the wagon, off the road, into the bushes. Tosses him onto his stomach. Takes his knife out. Started skinning him. Start with his back, and his shoulders, and his arms, and his legs, and his face. When they finally found this man, they didn't recognize him. But Hawkins, he got caught because he made two mistakes. That first mistake was gutting that man in the back of his wagon. Second mistake, forgetting about the horse. Now see, when a horse gets hungry, it goes back to the last place it ate, and that was town. This horse was taken with a mighty fine trail. Some blood, some guts, some jewelry. Just tripping at the back of that wagon. Now, town folks saw this trail, and they followed it all the way back to the forest. And what they see? George just standing there, giggling. And when they took him away, he ain't do nothing. He ain't fight, he ain't cuss, he ain't spit. All he do? Giggle. Yeah, that's a pretty cruel way to die. Even for a peddler, wouldn't y'all agree? Now I got one more story I want to tell y'all, but this ain't the place for it. How about we go outside? Come on, now, one part of the building, y'all, I forgot to tell y'all about. Now see, a few days before they hang you, they get a big old sack, and they fill that sack with your weight, tie that sack to the rope, tie that rope to that beam, and they drop it a few times. They say, oh, we're just making sure that rope can hold your weight. I think a little more sinister reasons. Wouldn't y'all agree? You in that cell the whole time. Now there's two names up on this plaque. Sim Jackson, first boy I told you about. Second name, Charlie Pop. Hi y'all. What y'all doing? Let me tell you about me. I'm a husband. Well, I was a husband. Ain't like that. See, man back home, he started saying horrible things about my wife. Horrible, ungodly, untrue, unsalvatory things about her. So like any good husband, I shut him up with my shotgun. Tad far, some might say, I ain't think so. Law ain't on my side. Law made me build my gallows. Law put me in that cell right there. Law also says you can't be hanging no man who ain't a sound mind. Day of my execution, I passed out. I ain't a sound mind. Now Sheriff Perry comes in, full well knowing this law, says, oh, this ain't gonna do. Strap a board around this man. We're bringing him up. And they did. They put a board around me, and they kept me on my 13 steps. They strung me up nice and high, and they dropped me. And that rope, now I did its job, broke my neck. That board, though, ain't a good plan. They dropped me, rope broke my neck, weight of that board broke the rope, and I come falling out in the crowd. Well, my neck snapped in two. And what I got here, y'all people, just looking at me, saying, get in the rope, we're gonna hang this boy good, we're gonna hang him. No, Sheriff Perry, no. You only hanging a man once. You only hang a man once.
Scary at all.
I don't know, I was scared.
I was looking all over. I searched
That guy was really crazy.
Yeah, dude. I feel like real life is a job to him. This is his life.
Yeah, that's right.
Switch, he's got it wrong. He was good at it though, I'll be honest. He was good.
During the Second Seminole War, he saw the fort was flying the white flag of truce. So he and all his warriors marched all the way up to the fort to find out that there was no truce. It was a trap. They were all captured, thrown into the fort, and this is where Osceola got deathly ill. He had caught malaria. They hired a man by the name of Dr. Frederick Whedon to take care of him. But he kept getting sicker and sicker by the day. They decided to transfer him all the way to South Carolina to see if this would help.
That's
But it didn't. And a couple of short days later, he had passed away. Now, Dr. Whedon didn't even hesitate on taking this time to further his medical education. But he took out of his bag the sharpest scalpel that he owned and began to sever Osceola's head. He then hid Osceola's neck in a ceremonial scarf so that nobody would know what he had done. The very next day, he was again alone with Osceola. He proceeded to take out the sharpest bone knife that he owned and began to finish off what he had started. Completely severing Osceola's head, taking it off his shoulders, and stuffing it in his medical bag. Now they closed the casket and buried him that day. Nobody was none the wiser.
That's a whole new meaning.
But when Dr. Whedon returned to St. Augustine, he put that head on his desk in a glass jar. Everyone saw the head, wondered whose it was and how he got it, but they were either too polite or too afraid to ask. Well, Dr. Whedon was rumored to have the most well-behaved children out of all St. Augustine. Whenever they misbehaved, he would send them to bed early. Put that head on their nightstand with a candle behind it. As the candle flickered, Osceola's eyes wandered. Try to sleep with that gawking at you all night long. Now it was rumored that he wanted some well-behaved grandchildren as well, because on the eve of his first daughter's wedding, he didn't give her a crock pot, not even a blender. He gave her that severed head.
Oh, geez.
She didn't find that as funny. She then gave that head to New York State Medical Facility, and soon after, that facility burned down. The head was lost forever. Now, why did he go through so much trouble for this one man? It was said that he lost many of his family members at the hands of Osceola during the First Seminole War. And a Seminole warrior cannot go on to a better afterlife without his full body attached and buried together. So he committed spiritual murder, dooming Osceola and his headless body to roam around St. Augustine for all eternity.
Anyone grab that shoe? It's even worse.
Well, we are arriving at the Welcome Center where we started and where we shall end. Now, if you look at the back of your tickets, they are prepaid comic cards. If you would fill them out, put them in any mailbox, and go straight to our corporate office in Key West, Florida. We would love to know what you thought of our tour. Now, thank you.